I knew something was off when my parents invited me for a casual Sunday dinner. Their overly cheerful voices on the phone set alarm bells ringing. You see, my family has a long history of making major decisions for their adult children without consultation. My brother Aaron had been struggling since his divorce, dragging his two young kids through his chaos. As we sat around the dining table, the tension built until Dad finally cleared his throat. Then came the bombshell, delivered as a statement, not a question. Aaron and his children would be moving into my house next month. Before I reveal how I handled this outrageous assumption that they could dictate who lives in my home, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit subscribe and like if you have ever had family members overstep their boundaries. I should probably start by explaining our family dynamics. At 36, I had built a respectable life as a software developer for a financial technology company in Boston. Through disciplined saving and working overtime for 3 years, I purchased a comfortable 3-bedroom colonial in a good school district 6 years ago. My house represented everything I had worked for, a symbol of my independence and responsible choices. Growing up as the elder brother in our family meant carrying the weight of expectations. While Aaron got away with missing curfew and mediocre grades, I faced lectures for anything less than perfection. This pattern continued into adulthood with an unspoken expectation that I would be the family safety net while receiving little support for my own challenges. Last year, when I needed emergency gallbladder surgery, my parents visited briefly on day 1, then spent the remaining week helping Aaron assemble furniture in his new apartment. When I mentioned feeling disappointed, Mom dismissed it with, "Aaron needs more help than you. You have always been so self-sufficient." My brother Aaron, 32, had a talent for creating his own disasters and expecting others to clean them up. His recent divorce came after his wife, Kelly, discovered his affair with a coworker. Rather than taking responsibility, he blamed Kelly for working too much as a nurse practitioner. The truth was, Kelly supported the family financially, while Aaron bounced between jobs he would inevitably lose due to tardiness or conflicts with management. Their 2 children, Emma 8 and Jackson 6, deserved stability. Their father seemed incapable of providing. The kids were sweet, but understandably troubled after watching their family splinter. Emma had developed anxiety that manifested as stomachaches before school, while Jackson had become withdrawn and quiet compared to his formerly outgoing nature. After the divorce finalized 4 months ago, Aaron moved into a 2-bedroom apartment where the kids shared a room during his weekend visitations. Kelly maintained primary custody, providing the consistent environment the children desperately needed. 2 weeks ago, Aaron lost his latest job as an insurance claims processor after repeatedly missing deadlines and arguing with his supervisor. Rather than immediately searching for new employment, he posted photos of himself at a brewery captioned, "Taking time to find myself." Meanwhile, his child support payments fell into arrears, creating additional tension with Kelly. My parents enabled this behavior consistently. When Aaron crashed his car last year, they purchased him a new one. When he missed rent payments, mysterious deposits appeared in his account. Each crisis reinforced the dynamic. Aaron creates problems. Family resolves them. Aaron learns nothing. My attempts to establish boundaries were met with accusations of selfishness. When I declined to loan Aaron $5,000 for a business opportunity selling nutritional supplements, my mother did not speak to me for 2 weeks. My father sent a lengthy email, explaining how family should always come first regardless of circumstance. The red flags before this fateful dinner were numerous. My mother called 3 times in 1 week to discuss important family matters without specifying details. My father mentioned that my 3-bedroom house seemed wasteful for just 1 person. Aaron suddenly expressed interest in the schools near my neighborhood, asking detailed questions about enrollment requirements. Most telling was my mother asking if I had any travel plans for the summer, followed by suggestions that I should prepare the guest rooms for extended visitors. Each comment alone seemed innocent enough, but the pattern suggested an agenda forming without my input. The most alarming moment came when my father asked about my mortgage terms, wondering if I had considered adding names to the deed for security purposes. When I questioned why this would be necessary, He quickly changed the subject to neighborhood property values. Despite these warnings, nothing prepared me for what happened at that Sunday dinner. I arrived at my parents' suburban home at precisely 5:30, bringing the requested bottle of wine and dessert. The atmosphere felt charged with nervous energy as my mother fussed over an elaborate meal of prime rib, twice-baked potatoes, and homemade rolls, far exceeding her usual Sunday dinner fare. Aaron arrived 20 minutes late with Emma and Jackson in tow. The children were unnaturally quiet and polite, with freshly combed hair and clean clothes, another departure from their typically casual appearances at family gatherings. My brother wore an expression that alternated between smug satisfaction and artificial gratitude. Throughout the appetizer course, conversation remained superficial. My father discussed golf scores while my mother repeatedly mentioned how nice it would be for the children to have more stability. Aaron nodded earnestly at everything our parents said, occasionally glancing at me with an expectant expression I could not decipher. As dinner progressed, my father opened an expensive bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon he had been saving for a special occasion. By dessert, the artificial pleasantries reached a breaking point, as my father called for everyone's attention by tapping his water glass with a spoon. "We have been discussing a family matter that concerns everyone at this table," he began, using his authoritative voice, reserved for important announcements. "As you all know, Aaron has been going through a difficult transition period, and Emma and Jackson need more stability than a small apartment can provide." My mother reached for my hand across the table, her eyes brimming with tears. "Family supports family during challenging times," she added. "We have always been proud of how responsible you are, and how fortunate you have been in your career." My stomach tightened as I sensed what was coming next. Still, hearing the actual words felt like a physical blow. "We have decided," my father continued, emphasizing the we, while looking exclusively at my parents and Aaron, "that the best solution is for Aaron and the children to move into your house. You have plenty of room with those 3 bedrooms, and the kids would finally have a yard to play in." The statement hung in the air, presented not as a request, but as a concluded discussion. Aaron smiled weakly, adding, "It would just be for a year or so until I get back on my feet." My mother jumped in before I could respond. "Emma could take the guest room with the blue wallpaper, and Jackson would love that space overlooking the backyard. Aaron could use your office since you already have a desk in your bedroom." The conversation continued around me, as they discussed logistics of a decision, apparently already finalized. My father mentioned the excellent school district. My mother suggested furniture arrangements. Aaron asked if his mountain bike could be stored in my garage. Not once did anyone ask if I agreed to this plan. Not once did they inquire about my own life circumstances or future plans. The assumption of my compliance was so complete that they had already selected move-in dates, discussed school registration, and planned room assignments. As shock gave way to clarity, I made a split-second decision. Rather than creating immediate conflict, I would say nothing about the most relevant fact: I had sold my house 4 weeks earlier and would be moving to Seattle for a new job the following week. The sale had progressed quietly, with the closing date set for 10 days from this dinner. The buyers, a young couple expecting their first child, were excited to start their family in the neighborhood. My belongings were already half-packed in boxes discreetly stored in the basement, invisible to my occasional family visitors. Instead of revealing these facts, I nodded thoughtfully while my family continued planning the invasion of my home. When asked direct questions, I gave vague answers that could be interpreted as reluctant agreement. "Would the garage work for storing some of Aaron's larger furniture?" my father asked. "There should be adequate space available," I replied truthfully, knowing any stored items would be discovered by the new owners. "Do you think we could repaint the kids' rooms before they move in?" my mother wondered. "That would be a decision for whoever lives there." I answered again, technically honest. As the evening concluded, my family appeared relieved and pleased with themselves for solving Aaron's problems so efficiently. My brother slapped my shoulder gratefully while whispering, "I knew I could count on you, bro." The only ones who seemed uncertain were Emma and Jackson, who watched the adults with the wary expressions of children who had learned not to trust stability. Emma asked quietly if she could bring her pet hamster to my house, while Jackson wondered if the neighbor kids were nice. Their innocent questions nearly broke my resolve, but I reminded myself that enabling Aaron's irresponsibility would ultimately hurt his children more than help them. Kelly provided the stable home they needed, while my brother needed to face consequences that might finally push him toward genuine change. Driving home that night, I experienced a complex mixture of emotions. Anger at the audacity of my family's assumptions. Sadness at the broken relationship that allowed such boundary violations. Guilt about the coming shock my niece and nephew would experience. Yet underneath it all ran a current of liberation, as I realized this situation perfectly justified my decision to create geographic distance from my dysfunctional family dynamics. The week following the dinner unfolded like a darkly comedic play. My phone buzzed constantly with texts and calls from family members, each making plans for my home without consulting me. My mother sent paint swatches for the kids' rooms, asking which shade of blue I thought Jackson would prefer. My father called about installing bunk beds, mentioning he had already ordered them for delivery to my address. Aaron texted asking if he could swing by to measure the windows for curtains, then showed up unannounced while I was working from home. As Aaron wandered through my half-packed house, he seemed oblivious to the moving boxes stacked in corners. "This place has great bones," he commented, while mentally rearranging my furniture. "Once we move some of this stuff out, there will be plenty of room for the kids to play." I nodded noncommittally, allowing him to plan renovations for a house he would never occupy. When he suggested removing built-in bookshelves to accommodate Jackson's gaming setup, I simply replied, "Interesting idea," knowing the new owners specifically loved those vintage shelves. Meanwhile, my real life continued progressing. I finalized details for my new position as Senior Development Manager at a major tech company in Seattle, representing a significant promotion with nearly double my current salary. My apartment in Seattle, a modern 2-bedroom overlooking Puget Sound, was secured with the first month's rent paid. The real estate closing process continued smoothly. The final walkthrough with the buyers, Michael and Sarah Reynolds, was scheduled for the day before my family's planned move-in. The young couple repeatedly expressed gratitude that I had maintained the home so beautifully, excited to welcome their baby into the safe neighborhood in a few months. Throughout this period, I confided only in my best friend Alex, who had witnessed my family's boundary violations for over a decade. Over dinner at his apartment, I explained the situation and my decision not to correct my family's assumptions. "Are you sure you want to handle it this way?" Alex asked. "It seems unnecessarily dramatic." "I have tried setting boundaries directly for years," I explained. "Every calm, rational conversation has been ignored or dismissed. Maybe a dramatic lesson is the only thing they will actually remember." Alex nodded reluctantly. "What about the kids, though? This isn't their fault." This question haunted me as well. Kelly has primary custody. They will continue living in their stable environment with her. If anything, this might help them see that their father needs to take responsibility rather than relying on bailouts. We spent hours discussing whether my approach was justified or excessively vindictive. Eventually, Alex conceded that after years of ignored boundaries, perhaps an unmistakable message was necessary. "I can be there when it happens, if you want moral support," he offered. "I appreciate that, but I will be driving to Seattle already. This is something they need to face without me physically present." As moving day approached, I methodically organized my departure. Most furniture would remain with the house as negotiated in the sale. Personal belongings were sorted into essentials for my car and items for the moving company to transport. I arranged for mail forwarding and utility transfers effective on closing day. 3 days before the planned confrontation, my mother called to discuss the transition. "We will help Aaron move his essential items Saturday morning," she explained. "The larger furniture will come next week after you have had time to rearrange." "That timing works for the current situation," I responded truthfully. "Your father and I are so proud of you for stepping up," she continued. "That is what family does in difficult times." The irony of her statement wasn't lost on me. In her mind, family meant I should sacrifice my home and privacy for my brother's poor choices. Yet family had never stepped up when I faced challenges. The day before departure, I completed final preparations. The house was professionally cleaned for the new owners. Essential documents were securely packed in my carry bag. A small camera doorbell had been installed, allowing me to witness the upcoming scene remotely. That evening, I received a text from Aaron. packed the first load of boxes. See you tomorrow, around 10. Kids are excited about their new rooms. I responded with a thumbs-up emoji, my last communication, before driving away from Boston at dawn the next morning, exactly 2 hours before my family was scheduled to arrive with Aaron's belongings. At precisely 10:15 Saturday morning, I pulled into a rest stop along the interstate, parked my car, and opened the doorbell camera app on my phone. Right on schedule, my parents' sedan and Aaron's truck filled with boxes and furniture appeared at the curb outside my former home. Emma and Jackson bounded energetically from my parents' car, racing to the front door, while the adults began unloading the first items. Jackson carried a small box labeled Legos, while Emma clutched her hamster cage protectively. My father extracted a suitcase from the trunk as Aaron lowered the tailgate of his pickup, revealing furniture wrapped in moving blankets. The first hint of confusion appeared when no one answered the children's excited knocking. Emma pressed the doorbell repeatedly, her smile fading slightly with each unanswered ring. My mother approached, trying the doorknob and finding it locked. He must be in the shower, she reasoned, pulling out her phone. I will call him. The call went straight to voicemail as expected. Growing concern crossed my mother's face as she tried again with identical results. By this time, Aaron had carried a large box to the porch, setting it beside 3 others already unloaded. Did he say he might be running errands this morning? My father asked, the first note of uncertainty entering his voice. Aaron shook his head. He confirmed yesterday we would arrive at 10. Maybe he overslept. After 15 minutes of unanswered calls and knocking, my brother peered through the front window. His expression shifted from annoyance to confusion. The living room looks different. Some of the furniture is missing. My father joined him at the window, his posture stiffening. Something is not right here. The pivotal moment arrived when a car none of them recognized pulled into the driveway. Michael and Sarah Reynolds, the new homeowners, stepped out and approached with confused expressions. Can we help you? Michael asked politely. We are meeting the real estate agent here for our final walkthrough before closing. The stunned silence that followed was visible even through the small camera view. My mother recovered, first introducing herself with visible confusion. There must be some mistake. My son lives here. We are helping my other son move in today. Sarah exchanged concerned glances with her husband. We have been in contract on this house for nearly 6 weeks. The owner is. She checked her phone. A Mr. Daniel Wilson. My father's face reddened as recognition dawned. That is my son's name. At that moment, the real estate agent pulled up, adding another layer to the unfolding scene. As she approached with paperwork in hand, Aaron frantically dialed my number. This time I answered the video call, watching their expressions shift from confusion to disbelief, as my background clearly showed, a highway rest stop. Where are you? Aaron demanded. There are people here saying they bought your house. They did buy it, I replied calmly. The sale closes officially on Monday, but they are doing their final walkthrough today as scheduled. But what about us moving in? What about the kids? Aaron spluttered, turning the phone so I could see Emma and Jackson sitting uncertainly on a box. I never agreed to that arrangement, I explained. You all decided I would surrender my home without ever asking if that worked for me or if I had plans of my own. My mother's face appeared in the frame, tears streaming down her cheeks. Why did you not tell us you sold the house? Why let us come here like this? Would you have listened if I had told you? Every time I have tried setting boundaries, you ignore them. You decided my house was the solution to Aaron's problems without a single question about my circumstances or consent. My father took the phone next, his expression thunderous. Where are you going? What is Aaron supposed to do now? I accepted a promotion in Seattle. As for Aaron's situation, that is for him to figure out as an adult, not for everyone else to solve while he avoids responsibility. The conversation continued painfully as reality sank in. The real estate agent confirmed the sale. The new owners stood awkwardly as my family processed their shock. Emma began crying, clutching her hamster cage while Jackson kicked pebbles on the driveway. What about the children? My mother pleaded. They need stability. They have stability with Kelly, I countered. Aaron needs to create his own stability, rather than commandeering mine. Eventually, the painful call ended with my family stunned and scrambling. They would need to reload Aaron's belongings and develop a new plan. My father's last words were, "We will discuss this later," his standard response when situations fell outside his control. The immediate aftermath brought the expected barrage of accusatory messages. Relatives took sides as the story spread through family channels. My mother claimed public embarrassment, while my father denounced my selfishness. Aaron alternated between rage and desperate pleas for reconsideration. Through it all, I maintained my course, driving steadily toward my new life in Seattle. By evening, I received a surprising text from Kelly, who had heard about the situation from the children. "While I do not approve of how it happened, thank you for not enabling Aaron again. Maybe this will finally push him to grow up for the kids' sake." Over the following weeks, the family drama gradually settled into a new reality. Aaron, faced with no bailout option, found a job at a construction company within days, beginning as a laborer, but quickly advancing to site coordinator once his organizational abilities emerged under pressure. He secured a more affordable apartment closer to Kelly's home, creating a more convenient arrangement for the children's visitations. My parents eventually moved from shock and anger to reluctant acceptance of my boundaries. Our conversations remained strained but civil, focusing primarily on updates about Emma and Jackson. For the first time, they began holding Aaron accountable, rather than making excuses for his choices. 3 months into my new position in Seattle, I established video chat routines with my niece and nephew, becoming a consistent presence in their lives despite the distance. Emma proudly showed me her improved school grades, while Jackson demonstrated his growing collection of rock specimens, a hobby we now shared. When Emma's birthday approached in December, I flew back to Boston, staying in a hotel, but spending quality time with both children. The visit included awkward but cordial interactions with my parents, and a surprisingly mature conversation with Aaron, who acknowledged his pattern of dependency without prompting. "I was angry at first," he admitted over coffee. "But looking back, I see how I was using you as a crutch rather than standing on my own feet. My relationship with my family will likely never be what society considers normal." The boundaries I established came at a significant emotional cost, creating distance that may never fully heal. Yet within that space grew something more valuable than superficial harmony, genuine respect. My Seattle life blossomed beyond career success. I found community through local hiking groups, developed new friendships based on mutual respect rather than obligation, and eventually began dating Alicia, a botanical illustrator who understood the complexity of family relationships from any tool, her own experience. The most valuable lesson from this experience was recognizing that true family support empowers growth rather than enabling dependence. Love without boundaries isn't love at all, but a hollow imitation that prevents authentic connection. Has your family ever made decisions about your life without consulting you? Have you struggled with setting boundaries with loved ones who take your generosity for granted? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the subscribe button and like this video to support more content about establishing healthy relationships. Share with anyone who might be fighting their own boundary battles with family members. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember that standing up for yourself does not mean you do not care. Sometimes it is the most loving thing you can do for everyone involved, including yourself.